Hello and welcome to Wave 17. In this episode, I'm flying an Aurora LN Legionnaire, a small upgrade to the cheapest of the starter ship packages. This is my first time taking an Aurora into Vanduul Swarm, and while I have several ships with a steeper price tag, I want to ease the concerns of players who may be feeling buyer's remorse over their Aurora pledge package by showing them what an Aurora is capable of. The LN is not the barest of bones, but at a list price of $35, it's only $15 above the cheapest of ships, and $25 less than the Avengers flying as my random partners in this match, both of whom were knocked out by the end of the previous wave, leaving me to finish the match on my own. While not shown in this clip, I do complete the match, outperforming my teammates by 3 to 4 times in terms of kills scored and damage done. The point isn't that you should melt down your nicer ships and buy an Aurora, merely that this isn't a pay-to-win game. You're going to need to put in work to be competitive, regardless of your hardware. I suggest making a habit of testing your flight controls and weapons loadout in free flight mode for any issues before going into any sort of competition. I failed to test the guns I loaded onto the Aurora before this match, and it took me a while to realize that I was not getting much damage output, as I was taking my usual aimed shots meant for low rate of fire, high damage per shot guns, whereas these are high rate of fire guns meant for holding down the hammer while maintaining your aim. I pledged in 2015 and took a break for a while before returning in March of 2017. When I first tried Battle Royale, I was getting my ass handed to me plenty, and I concluded that the other pilots knew the game a lot better than I did. Rather than throwing my hands in the air, I chose to put in the hours it would take to no longer be incompetent. From there, I dived deeper into the controls available. I researched the terms that weren't clear, the different weapons available, and experimented. Unless you start the game as a teenager, it will take some time and effort to know everything. Speaking of humility, I'll come down from my high horse and illustrate what's going on. The simplest of Vanduul only drop a fuel and ballistic ammunition when a player scores a kill, making it a bad idea to use missiles against them. The more difficult Vanduul also drop a missile and repair wrench. My basic approach for the latter group begins with wearing down my opponent's shields while circle strafing them. As I am engaging them, I'll lock on a missile, and once the rear shields are gone, I'll send the missile after them. I'll continue working on the shields and armor of the target until the missile finishes them off, or my guns do. And then I'll glide in and scoop up the missile that they drop before moving on to the next opponent. This keeps me in missiles and makes short work of each opponent. Circle strafing is a technique where you attempt to orbit your opponent by using your maneuvering thrusters to move laterally or horizontally, while adjusting the nose of your ship to stay ahead of their movement, preferably such that your shots will land on target. This constant motion makes it much harder for your opponent to hit you, as well as his buddies that are trying to kill you at the same time. I use a hands-on throttle and stick with foot pedals, which are mapped to left and right strafe. I am also regularly adjusting my throttle, particularly anytime my target is close, as I'll need to make tighter turns during those moments. You can see the throttle setting change on the right side of the speed gauge display. When circle strafing, remember that you want to slide to the opposite direction from where your opponent is facing. Think of it as getting in behind them. Meanwhile, you're going to be aiming the nose of your ship in the direction they are facing so that you can lead them with your shots. When using two sticks for control, you'll be moving them in opposite directions. If you do happen to get in on your opponent's rear, do your best to stay there with throttle control and watch your target's direction changes. My preferred range to target is around 300 to 800 meters. Beyond that, and you are likely just wasting your energy. You're going to have a lot of missiles coming at you, and you aren't going to want to think about what type they are. I suggest mapping your countermeasure release and cycle to the same button so you can click twice per incoming missile and be done with it. Unless you are posting videos of your aiming, there's nobody there to critique you. Don't feel rushed to shoot. Track your opponent until he is flying steadily in your sights, and you'll know when the right time is to snuff him. Getting circle strafing down will really help with this. It's going to take a fair amount of practice against computer opponents to give you the foundation you'll need to take on human ones, but you'll be dyeing the skyline with the carcasses of the lazy and arrogant noobs who haven't put in the work that you have. This is Jules Cordite, and I'll be on your 6 in the verse.